Hey guys, welcome to my video. I am your host, the J-Man, and today is Sunday, October 2nd, 2011. So, I'm going to be doing something kind of new for this month of October. As you know, Halloween is right around the corner, and Halloween is a time where we tend to celebrate or fascinate ourselves with dark elements and kind of disturbing things that strike emotions in us, such as fear and anxiety. Very interesting concepts psychologically. So it's fun to explore these elements, and which brings me to my theme for these videos. It's going to be a new video series I'm doing. As you know, I'm a comic book guy, so I'm always talking about comic books, comic book characters, and coming up really soon is going to be a major release for comic book fans and video game fans. It's called Batman Arkham City. I'm sure you're aware of it, and it's going to be out really soon, and it's a huge, what I mean is a big budget release. So we have lots of hopes and expectations and excitement. What I'm going to focus on for this particular video is Batman Arkham City, introducing, or not introducing, but reintroducing the character of the Penguin to a big budget production like this. Now, we haven't seen that character in a big budget production since I'm going to say 1991's Batman Returns movie, and that was kind of a failed attempt, sort of, to some degree. I think for the most part it's seen as a poor interpretation of the character, a little too creepy for most people, but nonetheless very interesting, cutting edge, you could say. So that brings me to the topic of what is the interpretation or the portrayal of this character going to be like in the new game. Is it going to be like we've seen in the comic books, or more like in the TV series, like the cartoons, or is it going to be like the Tim Burton movie character? So I'm thinking it'll probably be a mix of those, but it remains to be seen. But anyway, for this video, I would like to give you my thoughts and opinion on the character, and also explore different interpretations of the Penguin and the positives and negatives about his character traits, and when it comes to writing stories for the character or based on the character, how certain elements work better than others. And this is good if you've ever thought about writing script, so which I'm constantly thinking about, is, writing scripts for anything, mainly movies though, because that's where my interest is. So the character of the Penguin, we're going to look at pictures of the Penguin and just talk about different interpretation or ways to interpret the character. Tim Burton took a big risk when he decided to portray the character as being this deformed freak of nature that society has abandoned, and now he's got this whole inferiority complex, and he has a grudge against society. So yeah, that's very kind of depressing, and how should I say it? Depressing and creepy. Really, the best word to define Tim Burton's Batman Returns, especially the Penguin character, is just plain creepy. He went a little overboard with that, but I'm not here to criticize the movie. The movie has already gotten tons of criticism. I mostly just want to talk about the character, and before the Batman movie Batman Returns with the Penguin. The character was completely different. So Tim Burton took a new approach. The character from the comic books was more of this aristocratic, pompous, kind of elderly character who just, like, I guess he wasn't very clearly defined as, say, the Joker. If you ever go back and you look at the old, like, 1960s, 1970s Adam West Batman series, Burgess Meredith played the Penguin, and his characterization, it's not very well defined. He's just kind of this. How do I even describe it? It's so hard to explain. He's just this socialite who thinks he's like a higher class than everybody else. So he has like an ego, and he kind of, his motivation is that he likes to manipulate people for his own amusement. I guess that's how it is. Tim Burton's character was a lot more complex, so I give Tim Burton credit for that. Burton always has this sort of poetic interpretation with his characters in his movies, which I really applaud him for that. But yeah, the Tim Burton characterization of the Penguin, I think that's been adopted a lot in other forms of media. And I think rightfully so, because the Penguin is a difficult character to grasp and to portray. There's only so many directions you can take him in. And I'm just going to run through some ideas that I have regarding the character. Okay, for instance, other than a freak of nature, or an aristocratic, like, socialite who thinks he's better than everyone else, other than those two interpretations, you could also interpret the Penguin as this, like, I'll try to say this, greedy, rich, obese, and arrogant person who kind of has just disrespect for everything and everybody except himself. You could think of him that way. You could think of him as a character who is obsessed with financial gains, and, you know, like, just consumed by greed and the desire for power and political power, economical power, that type of thing. You could even portray him as a character who has, like, a mental illness, which you could link to being elderly, such as, like, dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that, which could make him very, not only cranky, but just belligerent and rude to everybody, which is a stark contrast to the character in the cartoon, who's very polite and socially correct in everything he does, other than his criminal activities. In the cartoon, he obsessed with birds and bird collecting, which I always felt like that was a very silly characterization of him, just because his name is the Penguin and he kind of sort of resembles a penguin. I don't see the link there with bird collecting, or you know, his obsession with birds. And birds aren't really that threatening. As a villain, you want to have something associated with the villain that could be, you know, a high threat level. But birds, to me, just aren't that much of a threat, you know, other than Stephen King's portrayal of the birds. But still, I don't think birds are all that threatening. Now, anything done correctly could be considered threatening. Like, I mean, poison ivy, for instance. You know, her plants aren't really that threatening, but when you're talking about gigantic-sized Venus flytraps, that's pretty threatening. But that type of thing isn't very realistic. So those are the risk factors. That's why I don't like the characterization where Penguin is obsessed with birds and bird collecting. What else do we have for the Penguin? Let's see here. He's a hard one to develop. He's really hard to come up with an angle or storyline revolving around him. He's always been a difficult character for me to understand. You could make him like a character that's like obsessed with how should I say this? Well, you could make him like more of a social deviant, where he has a lot of even sort of perverted tendencies, but you know, that wouldn't be very good for anything other than an adult story. For some reason, he strikes me as a very political character. Like, he's always trying to achieve this social status that's above everybody else, because maybe he was rejected as a child due to his deformity. You know? That's why he wears all the fancy clothes and speaks properly. So maybe he has this overwhelming need for people to socially approve of him. Again, a lot of the pictures just portray him as like an elderly character who's really just, you know, cranky, disturbed, and bitter and angry at the world. And for some reason, he gets this empowerment from that. Feel like he can boss everybody around. Oh, another characterization that I came up with, or interpretation of the character, is that he's a extremely intelligent person who feels like because he's so intelligent, the world owes him everything, and everyone should just kind of succumb to his desires or his commands. Anyway, there you have it. That's my 411 on the Penguin. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Thanks for watching.